Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh and I'm joined by Gretta today, and as always, the Realm of Beings. Carol will not be with us today. We send her fast healing. Shifting Impressions is on Transformation Talk Network, and we are very happy to be there. You could also find us on any of your favorite streaming stations. We are live on Transformation Network Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. So today, if you have any questions about that you want to ask Gretta or the Realm, please feel free to call us at 800-930-2819, and we can answer your questions live if you have any. Shifting Impressions will help you look at your life and your creation of reality to see what shows up, how to look at it perhaps from a new perspective, and what you can learn from it. Every week, if you're new to the podcast, we discuss a quotation that Gretta has downloaded directly from the Realm of Beings. And then in the second segment of the podcast, Gretta channels the Realm, and we hear directly what they have to say about their quotation. So this week, listeners, we have a big one, and I'm missing Carol not being here with Gretta and I, because our title this week is Who or What is God? Yes. And the quotation is, "It is important to widen your conscious mind in order to understand what we are saying. This is a new paradigm for most of you. However, it needs to be seen and understood. There are many gods throughout existence." So, Gretta, where are we opening this conversation today?
You know, when they downloaded that quote to me, and it was "Who and what is God?" I said, "Oh my goodness." How I did. I said, "Oh my goodness," myself. Okay. But the one thing is that God is a perception that people have usually based on their religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found. Like in Islam, there are, if I'm not mistaken, 99 names for God, and they use all 99. Some people will use Yahweh. Some people will use Yoshua, I think. They're different names. And some people who are Christian even see Jesus as God. So
Right.
it all depends on what your religious framework is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glancing over your shoulder and I see that there's like a Ganesha or something behind you, right?
Oh, that's Kuan Yin.
Oh, that's Kuan Yin. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
It looked like I can't see it well. But at any rate, what I was getting at is, you were talking about religion, and I guess if you go into Hinduism, they have many deity is representative of God, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So then the thing becomes, and who or what is God? We know that God is an energy because we're energy. So, and then where is God in relationship to the force? You see, the force, when we refer to the force, we're referring to that that energy source that created what you call God. And see, and then we've been taught that there's only one God. I personally resonate with Hertog's. One of Hertog's conceptions is that there's more than one God that created this universe.
And when you say talk, what are you talking about for people who may not know?
J.J. Hertog is just excellent what he gives. That's my perception of it. Some things I agree with, of course, but some things I don't embellish. But the thing about the God, I really do embellish that. And it's J.J. Hertog, Hurtak. I know he doesn't mind us talking about his book. His book is The Keys of Enoch. And I really, really worked on that book for 12 years because each one is just a paragraph. And you have to really, read it and open. It's an opening of your consciousness. It's a widening of it. So when I've got to the three gods, I kind of just kind of, like I said, it resonated with me. And I said, oh, okay. But it didn't really get to me until I met my friend. He and I have not talked for years, but he considered himself to be part of the army of Melchizedek. And one day he was talking to me about it, and he said, do you know anything about Melchizedek? And I said, hecky no, I don't know anything about Melchizedek. Even though that's in the Keys of Enoch, and I've been reading it for 12 years, but it just did, some things click with you right away, and then some things take time for that. But I told him, I said, I'll look him up, because at that time I was already doing remote, so I could go anywhere, see anything remote. So we hung up. I said, I'm going to investigate this. It was kind of out of ego because I didn't want him to think that I, wasn't open. And I didn't want him to think that I was ignorant of what he was talking about. So I said, well, let me go investigate this, because he was coming to my house the next day. And of course, when he would come, we would talk, metaphysical concepts, spiritual concepts. So I said, let me be ready. So I was sitting on my bed, and I have a portal opening in my bedroom. And only that portal is only programmed to accept individuals of high vibration can come through there. Anything that's of low vibration can't even move through that space. But so I said, well, let me call on Melchizedek. I'm going to call on Melchizedek. I want to see who he is. Let me know. I want to know this. So I said, I requested, I said, may I facilitate for that which is called Melchizedek? Yes. To Melchizedek's higher consciousness, can I facilitate for you? Yes. I said, I would like Melchizedek to come to me. So I'm sitting on my bed. My bedroom is a mess, and this individual, this energy source, comes right through the portal and stands in front of me. And I'm looking at it because it took on a humanoid form. And I thought it was really interesting because the form it took made it look like the stereotypic Moses, with the long white beard, long hair, white hair, looking old and ancient. But the interesting thing about that was that I bowed. I was sitting on my bed and I did this, bowed, moved my head, and I said, Father. So then I said, wow. So we talked. Don't ask me what the discourse was because I don't remember. And then, I thanked him for coming, and he turned around and went back wherever he came from. Well, in the meantime, I still don't know who is Melchizedek. So I run downstairs the next morning, and I said, I've got to discover this before he comes. So I tried to look and see which book would work, and I said, let me go to the Keys of Enoch. And I looked in the Keys of Enoch. Melchizedek was not in the index, but was in the glossary. And then the glossary said that Melchizedek is God. So that was my first experience. I know that sounds so unbelievable because we set up God as being a force that's beyond our reach. Unless we're praying, we can reach it by way of praying or affirmations, however you want to call that. But to say that you've actually met God is absolutely, you would think that's impossible, of which it is not. So, and that was in the Keys of Enoch. I said, doggone it, I've met God. And then I reviewed, and there are 3 of them. Yeah.
But why is that important for us to know?
Well, one thing that it's important for us to know who or what God is and what is our relationship with that entity, because that is a means of maintaining separation. See, we know we're talking about God in here because it says the title of the podcast is Who or What is God. But what we're really getting to is separation. Because religion has set up, they believe that there's no way in the world that they could reach out and touch God or see that entity called God. So he is way beyond our reach. And notice the pronoun I said he. And notice that when the energy came to me, he produced himself, he created himself to look like a male. Why is that? Because most of the quote unquote gods in these religions are male. They're male. So that means it's setting up a dominance for males. See, this quote is very deep because it can take us into discrimination against women. Can women be gods? Of course, we have Kuan Yin, Gunyom, various other entities that are gods.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah. But a lot of them are male because it wants the domination of the female. See, so religion plays a very important part. It increases feelings of separation. That's why you have quote unquote religious wars taking place. One says, well, my religion is better than yours. And so there's this disparity and confusion and chaos, destruction going on based on a religious belief that my quote unquote God is better than your quote unquote God,
or my religion is the true religion and yours is false, you know. But so this quote is deeper than what it seems. It's deeper than what it seems. Because if you think that God is above you, then you can never, you can't really reach it. You can't, it supports the concept of separation, which is low vibration. Separation is low vibration. Separation is also one of the lessons that we're supposed to learn here, that we come in here with. We're supposed to learn that, hey, there is no separation between us whatsoever. But people use their religious beliefs to create and maintain separation.
Well, that's why it seems to be a very kind of a very humanoid concept. I know that there's, you know, we are experiencing humanity in this, you know, in this reality. So of course, all of the things are going to be humanoid. But I mean, it seems like a distortion for perhaps, you know, if power exists or not. But there's that, you know, divide and conquer mentality. So if there's all of this infighting, then, you know, it's easier to control the masses maybe than if we were peacefully united.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I was looking at one person on YouTube. They were interviewing her in some kind of history thing. And she said, God gave us this land. And I've heard other people say that too. God gave us this land. And my whole thought was, what is your concept of God to think that God gave you this land? Why would God discriminate against others? You see, why would that, what is your conception that you think that God favors you more than anybody else? That is my question I've had for a while now. You know, God gave me this, you know, and then that takes them away from even creation of reality, you know, or they'll say that people will blame God. God, why did you do this to me? You see, so they totally move out of the concept of creation of reality. They do not understand that they create their own reality. Because when you understand that you create your own reality, then you can't sit around blaming God for the realities that you have, that you can't blame another person for. So then what are you going to do? You're going to blame it on this ethereal being that you cannot see, that you cannot touch. You just decide that you're going to believe in it. And so you let it take the responsibility for your creation of reality. See, that's another thing that people do with this whole concept of God, you know, because that whole concept, if we go in and we talk about different religions, there's always a force that is above all other forces that is responsible for what we're looking at. You see what I'm saying, Leigh? You know, what are we looking at? I'm looking at this creation of reality. Okay, so well, God did that. Look at that. You know, go ahead. I feel you.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, but bringing it back into creation of reality terms, you know, why is it important if everything is creation of reality? if you create the reality that you have, you're part of X religion, and it may have, one etheric thing that's over you, controlling your life, that's your creation. And if you want to listen to something else and hear that there are, infinite number of gods, or we are, how does that help or hinder your creation of reality?
Well, one thing it's going to do is going to place you in a state of limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Going to keep you in a certain space within consciousness that you don't go beyond that. Like there's some people that are consider themselves to be atheists, and then there's some people that consider themselves to be agnostic. All of this is fine. Like you said, whatever belief system you have about God is okay. But what's happening as you go through this life experience and transitional portal to transitional portal, you're going to find that you're learning more about this energy source, and because you're expanding on it more and more and more. If we think back of where people were conceiving, God, I think at one point was fire. This is our God. So, but there's always, people always try to have a supreme being because they want to justify how they got here. How did I really get here? They're trying to figure out existence. So they create this entity called quote unquote God. There are a lot of gods, and they're not all called God. If you move out of this universe and you move into other universes, they will have a God, quote unquote gods, but it may not look like what we think perceive God to be, which is male and white, a white male. Some of us give him blue eyes, some of them gives brown eyes, but he's always white because that's going in with the politics, the political
right, that's
structure
colonial.
of this world. Right. So that's why it's supportive of that. Some people go into the structure dealing with the Elohim. I remember once I was reading in one of Alice Bailey's books, and if you to the audience, if you want to learn some things about existence, take a look at Alice Bailey. She's just a beginning point for you, but look at her. Look at the things that have been channeled. Her books were channeled to her by the Tibetan, who was a monk, a Buddhist monk who had made his transition. He's like Seth. He's like the realm of beings. Giving information, but she's written it down, so it'll give you some ideas. But it said you can choose if you want to be a logo. A logo is another name for God. Logoi can also be plural. So I'm going, there's a logo for the solar system, there's a logo for the galaxy. The logo for Earth at one time was called Sanat Kumara, Kamara, Sanat Kumara, now Sanat. He was the one that was guiding this whole Earth experience in high vibration, but he was supposed to have been gone, quite a while ago, because I started my reading metaphysics in the 80s, early 80s.
Is all of what we're presenting today to just, to say that, there are many gods or whatever, is it essentially a tool to try and to do that expansion of your mind, right? To see if your mind could embrace the fact that maybe the religion that I was brought up in and the teachings that were indoctrinated in me, oh, maybe I can question them and think something else. I mean, is it a tool for that? I mean, one step at a time. So, okay, maybe I can question that what I read in the Bible maybe was edited and, things were taken out and things were put out of context. And maybe that isn't the whole truth, or maybe I can open to some new ideas. So is it just a tool for that?
You know what, if you're going to equate the word understanding as a tool, then I would say yes. This is an understanding that if you can get the fact that there could be 3 or more gods for this universe, that there could be a God for the solar system, a God for the galaxy, or a logo, because that's a belief system that's out there. But the bottom line for us is that we are God itself, as we are the force, because the force that oversees and creates all of existence created that which we call God, or the gods. So every universe, first is to extend the fact that, to note that a universe is going to infinity, that this universe that we are in is just one of many, not one of one, but one of many. So consequently, there are structures, God concepts going throughout all of existence. But the one thing is to note that everything that is in existence, including the gods and whatever, we are all one, and we are the force, because the force is all that there is. Now, is it a tool? You can take it as a tool. You can take it as a tool, and how far do you want to take it is going to depend on who you are, where you are at. Mm-hmm. Some people would consider me saying that I'm blasphemous. I'm blaspheming God.
Right, but I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. So, is if you can sit and listen to this, and even if you can sit and listen to what you're saying and not even judge our words as good or bad, that's a step.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
To opening up. It's a step to hear something that may be unfamiliar to you, and not immediately judge it as wrong and reject it, but to perhaps to be open to the possibility to consider it.
Right. Because let's go back to the person I gave as an example, who said, God gave us this land. That is that individual's belief system. That is her religious doctrination that she received, that this is what it is, and it's not going to be anything else but this. So when I was living in Africa,
but I mean, isn't that, I don't know, I'm having a little bit of a challenge with this one, because I guess my question is, why does it matter? Right? I mean, if everything is fine,
it matters because go ahead.
Yeah. So if everyone is where they are, and everyone can believe what they want, because everyone is the force, and that's just more information, going back to the force to experience itself in all of these many ways. How does it make a difference if that one ever changes their belief or mind?
Oh, that's going to make a very big difference. One of the things it's going to affect is, how do we perceive each other?
Okay.
See, right now we perceive each other as being separate.
Mm-hmm.
when you understand the godness that's within you and the forceness that's within you, then you no longer have, you're moving out of separation.
Okay, so
when you move out of separation, Leigh, then you move out of blame and you move out of judgment and you start to see people and things as one and not separate.
mm-hmm.
So, and it begins with your understanding of who or what is God.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said this quote goes way beyond, it goes deeper than what the words say it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that it makes a difference. It makes a difference if we understood just on this little planet called Earth, in this reality. If we understood that we were one, do you think there would be any wars? No.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You'd think people would be discriminated against based on their religion, their color, their sexuality? No. Because
but see,
go ahead.
Hold on, just let me pause you there because I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate here, or whatever you want to call it. But so if everything's okay, though, what does it make a difference? Why does it matter if, some people are discriminated, if there's war?
Because when we came here, we decided that we were going to experience this reality as being human and the things that come with being human. Now, the thing is that we did a podcast on the forgotten memory. And one of the things that we've forgotten is who we actually are. And who we actually are is the force.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's only one thing that's in existence. So beginning to understand that there are gods all over the place. And it just means going into a higher state of, not even a higher state of consciousness. It's not going in higher. It's
right. It's hard to
inner.
use the words.
It's going inner. You're going into yourself. You're going into yourself, remembering that you are the force itself. That's when you said it earlier, you said the force wants to experience itself. Yes, it does. And it experiences itself through all of its creative things that it has. It experiences itself through the trees. It experiences itself through boa constrictors. It experiences itself through water. It experiences itself through all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for us, is to reach a point that we understand that we are all one. Therefore, if we understand that we are all one, then we understand that we are God or gods, that we're all one with that. And then there's no need for low vibrational experiences anymore. There's no need for that. It brings us up out of that. It brings us out of judgment. It brings us out of blaming others for the realities that we create. It takes us away from that. So that is one of the strong purposes of it.
Right. And if you step out of those blaming, judgmental spaces, you would see that what you're creating becomes different.
Absolutely.
So it's a bit of a test to yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, because the only person you can deal with is you.
It's yourself, right?
That's it.
Greta, do you want to say anything else, or shall we take a break?
Let's go ahead and take our break. I think Emily already showed us we were going beyond. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us on Shifting Impressions. We'll take a short pause and be back and hear what the realm has to say. Thanks for listening. Hello, welcome back to Shifting Impressions. We're at the point of the podcast where the realm weighs in on their quotation. If you have any questions that you would like to ask them, call us. We can be reached at 800-930-2819. Realm, are you with us?
Yes, we are with you
Fantastic.
today.
Okay, you gave us a bit of a deep quotation this week. Who or what is God? It is important to widen your conscious mind in order to understand what we are saying. This is a new paradigm for most of you. However, it needs to be seen and understood. There are many gods throughout existence. And my first question was, why does it matter if we know that there are many gods throughout existence or not?
Why does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Everything matters. An act matters. A chicken matters. Be it cooked or uncooked. Everything matters, Leigh, because everything is a part of the force. And everything of the force matters because it is it. Now, why does it matter for you to understand God or Yahweh or Jesus?
Or, right, there are many gods throughout existence.
Absolutely, absolutely. Based on people's culture. They want to have, it's like for some people, it's a comfort. It's a comfort to know that there is a being out there that you can call on when you're in need. You can, when you say your prayers, I'm praying for peace, or God, help me. Help me do this. Help me get over this disease. Then people don't feel by themselves. There's a connection. Even people who don't believe that there's a supreme being, but there are people that don't believe in the term God or other terms that people use for it, but they believe in a supreme being. You see, that it's still that desire for the supreme being. Then you have agnostics that don't believe in that at all. They believe basically in self. But it's interesting because self is the supreme being. So you go around in circles depending on where you're at. Everybody's in a different place.
Well, right, but that's, I mean, that was my primary question today. You know, why is it important to maybe understand there are many gods throughout existence? If you're happy with, and it brings you solace that there's something you think is supreme to you.
But you want to expand your thinking. You don't want to really, your purpose is not to stay in the same thinking paradigms or in the same thought systems. The idea of coming into this reality to experience being humanoid, of which you chose to be humanoid, you realize that it's for your expansion. It's like Greta does, playing chess. She tells people if you want to play one-dimensional chess, after a while you get bored. So then you say, let's make this chess game a little bit more interesting. So let's play three-dimensional chess, which adds some more intricacies to the game that you have to be aware of. So that's what humans are doing. They're looking at what they have, and the humanoid experience is to seek more and more understanding. See, that's the part of being human.
Do you think, Realm, that could be a reason, as you're talking, I'm just asking the question, that why there maybe seems like there is so much maybe like discontent or depression amongst the humans of these days, because we have so much technology that where there's like access to information at a rate that maybe was not possible in our, you know, last, let's say 100 years or so. So we have all this access to information, and if people aren't expanding, if that's the point of being here, is to expand, and you don't, and there's all of this information around you, and if you don't take any of it if you don't take any of it in to look in, that, like, you feel that heaviness.
Well, see, the thing is that you are taking everything in bit by bit at every moment. And really, at every moment, you are expanding, because you're expanding through the lessons and how you deal with the lessons, how you create your realities, everything. You are always in a constant state of expansion. I'm glad you asked that question.
But what if you're consciously refusing to expand because you're so
You're not
stuck?
consciously refusing to expand, because every moment, you are learning something. Every moment, through all of this. Because when you create something, then you can sit back and say, I wonder why I created that. Those people who don't even understand that they create their own realities, they're going to say, well, why did that happen? But they're still going to think about it.
Mhm.
They just may think about it in a different way than somebody who understands. Right.
Judgmental way. But what about those people that refuse, like, they are just staunchly holding their worldview from 30 or 40, I use the term loosely, years ago, and they're just, refusing to let in something new or acknowledge that there's something new?
Well, if they're going to remain in that staunch position, then what happens when you make your transition? That's a lesson you have not learned yet. So therefore, you're going to take it with you to your next transitional portal. And for those people, we talked about death, I think sometime in September. You move from transitional portal to transitional portal until you recognize and remember. Notice we did not say learn. We said remember that you are the force. This is a remembering experience. Those people who are listening to this podcast are already embracing the idea that they create their own reality and that they are in charge of the realities that they create. And they're already accepting of that there are gods all over the place. It's just that people don't necessarily call them gods. They can appear in other names, but they're still going to take on the position of being a quote unquote superior being, you see, that we can look up to, because we're not a part of it. It's separate from us. So what we're learning all along in these transitional portals, we take lesson to lesson to lesson until you get to the point and say, oh my, I am the force, and I've been the force all along. Okay? Some people transition. In fact, anybody and everybody who's listening to this podcast today and who is not listening to this podcast today are all in transitional portals. We just don't remember that. We don't remember that we have gone through the process of death. And now we're in a transitional portal. And some people, in order to try to understand it, have developed terms like past lives, have developed terms such as reincarnation, and none of those are really in true reality, actualized. You have lateralities and you're energetically connected, but that's to that person who's in another laterality, but that's another discussion for us. But the discussion as far as knowing who or what is God, God is you. God is all of us. It's not a God for us. We are God itself.
So
go ahead.
Is this your way to, in the beginning of this quotation, it says, it is important to widen your consciousness, your conscious mind, in order to understand what we are saying. And then at the end of it, there are many gods throughout existence. And what I asked Greta earlier is that just a tool that to enable you to widen your consciousness? Because that is the aim of the game of being here. And when you say to someone who just believes in the white deity in the clouds that there are many gods throughout existence, that's just something you can throw out there for them to consider as like a wedge in their consciousness.
Absolutely. And some people will ignore what we're saying. Some people will say, I accept that. Some people will say, let me look into that a little bit more. What does that mean? That means then they can travel into looking at other religions. They can look into Buddhism and say, what is the concept of God in Buddhism? How is it similar to the concept of God in Islam? And so forth. So they begin to make connections to these things. So they're starting to widen their conscious conceptualization.
Okay, so it is then just a tool, because in all, if it doesn't matter, if it's like fully fine to be exactly where you are, this is just kind of like a spark or catalyst to make you question something and seek.
As we said earlier, when you made that statement, Leigh, we said to you, everything matters. Everything matters. Where you are at the conscious level matters for you, for each individual, because it allows you, like for instance, some people, individuals, humanoid individuals may go through 295 transitional portals before they understand that they're the Force. Some may just do 5 and they understand. Some may just do 1 and they say, oh yeah, I am the Force. I recognize that. So understanding who God is and your relationship to God is very important. It is very meaningful, because it supports you in change. It supports you in new paradigms, new thought patterns. Yes. So it matters. It does matter.
And maybe when what I said, it doesn't matter, I should clarify that and say that it is okay where you are. Like, people can be where they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wherever an individual is fine. It's fine. Humanoids have a whole different structure of being, a whole different psychological and emotional structure that they'll deal with in comparison to what is a tree dealing with. How does a tree feel? How does a cell in your body feel? You know, because it also, every cell in your body is the Force. Every cell, because everything in existence, that what you perceive and that what you cannot perceive, is the Force. Yeah.
We just have a few more minutes. Would you like to close with some final thoughts?
Well, our final thought on this would be, love yourself. Love yourself. We said that every week. Now, what does that have to do with this quote today? Loving yourself is going to bring you knowledge, going to bring you information that supports you in loving yourself. Part of loving yourself is to recognize and know that you are the Force and that you've been the Force all along. That is a concept that supports you in love of self.
Thank you, Ren.
expanding yourself and knowing who you are.
Thank you, Ren. We have come to the end of another podcast of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, Realm. And be well until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.